You do think this could mean more stimulus? Maybe that's why the markets haven't taken the concept of a Biden presidency too unfavorably.
Yeah, I think one of the things to note is that in March, everyone kind of agreed on what the problems were because we were all going through this very dramatic set of changes together. Since March, different states have experienced both the economic and health impacts of the coronavirus crisis differently, and blue states have tended to suffer more than red states. But now what we're seeing is some red states starting to show surges in cases, which may lead to more need for those states to sort of shut down a little bit, slow down. And so what the president can do then to continue to get those red state voters to turn out is to make sure that they're compensated essentially by the federal government for staying at home.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Joe, the other thing is, and we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks, but the polls are often unreliable when it comes to President Trump. A lot of people here like to look at the betting odds instead, but those also show a big move in favor of Biden lately. What do you make of that?
Well, Politico came out with a great article yesterday, and they did another one just a few days ago. And in the one a few days ago, they talked about the confidence of more than 50 state GOP leaders, especially in the battleground states, people like the GOP chairman in Pennsylvania and some of the other key states for November of 2020. And they say that they're extremely confident about President Trump's chances. Now, the article that came out yesterday in Politico states what the big challenge is for everybody reading these polls is, and that is that while national polls have generally been pretty accurate, there have been few state polls, and a lot of the state polls that have taken place just haven't had the capacity to collect accurate data from non-college educated white voters. This matters because a large part of the country, actually a majority of the country, is not college educated, and a large percentage of President Trump's base would be non-college educated white voters. So to not include those voters in these surveys would certainly skew the numbers.
Oh, for sure. And I think we've learned that, whether it was here, even in Brexit. I mean, there's definitely some similarities between the way that polls undercapture some of these trends. Stefanie, that said, is the economy going to be enough? You know, even if we have a recovery that's proceeding, even if we have some stimulus, aimed at helping these groups, I mean, there's other reasons that motivate turnout, too. And I wonder if evangelicals, for instance, are less enthusiastic about their support for the president and how that might play into the fall.
Yeah, again, thinking about what voters define as problems is going to drive how they react. I think very much there's an issue with just relying on the polling as gospel, because whether it's undecided voters who maybe are decided, and in 2016 they all swung towards Trump, whether it's voters that aren't captured, whatever it is, the things that are driving voters are going to be feeling like your health is at risk or your livelihood because of the economy is at risk. I do think if Trump can stabilize the economy or make voters feel like he's stabilized the economy heading into November, then based on, what Kayla was saying at the top of this segment, voters really trust him more than Biden to help the nation recover. And so if it's truly who's going to lead us through a recovery question on an economic side, I think Trump wins.
What, Joe, are your expectations for Congress overall at this point, and how does early voting play into the outcomes here?
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with regards to early voting, and especially how voting overall might be impacted by coronavirus and mail-in ballots and the like. But for the most part, with regards to Congress, they'll have to tackle the issues that are the issues of the day. Certainly, police reform is one of them. And while that's a hot issue, Republicans and Democrats have both put forward their own legislative agendas on police reform, which mutes that issue as an issue for Democrats. And likewise, the president came out with his own executive order over the last couple of days, which even won some praise from Democrats. So it'll be the issues of the day that will drive Congress. Don't expect any huge legislative items to be passed as we head into the fall. Clearly not. This is an election year, so you won't see that. But there will be pressure on them to do something about police reform. And certainly anything that will help fight the coronavirus pandemic will certainly be closely watched.
Do you think that control of Congress will flip? I mean, it's split now, but yeah.
Hard to say. I don't know that the Republicans will win back the House. And I think right now there's a good chance that they retain control of the Senate. But I don't know that the Republicans win back the House. So we'll have to see. It's, people are moved by the issues of the day, and they have short memories as well. So what was important to people in May of 2020 may not be so important as some other issue that may crop up in September of 2020 or October of 2020. So we'll have to wait and see.